Why do we continue to mislead the public in this vulgar manner?
In Guyana, recently there was a general election in Guyana on September 1. I think we're all aware of that. Coming out of that election, the EU delegation, the European Union delegation, has issued a report. And when I read the report, a lot of what they commented on and expressed concern about were actually at play, certainly complained of widely in the Jamaican situation. And that tells you that the question of the democratic process being legitimized is also a question of the various activities and the concerns and the issues that are raised that will affect the quality of the democracy. And I think that's a lot of the concerns that are being raised here and need to be pursued is around not just the specific legal aspects, but about some of the concerns and gaps that may have opened up in our electoral system that needs to be addressed.
Mr. Hilton, you put forward the suggestion comparing Jamaica's electoral process to that of Guyana, which has a history now of concerns about the process, whereas here in Jamaica, we had the OAS, CARICOM, as well as CAFE, all suggesting that the elections were free of harassment, free of intimidation, or any other irregularities, so far as going as to commending us in terms of our conduct here and to put forward Jamaica as a model that the Caribbean can follow. Isn't that a bit out of sorts in terms of that assessment by you in terms of irregularities? And to you, Mr. Golding, your predecessors have all offered their resignations to the wider party following an election loss. Will you not do the same, or will you simply take up your post as opposition leader going into the parliament?
Well, let me. Well, you want to go first?
No, I'll go
And
second.
let me say, I think the aspects. I don't think what you characterize as overstatement, notwithstanding anything that has been said by CAFE or any other organization that participated. The EU focus, and I'd urge you, and I think you have read the EU report. And if you have, then you'll see that they commented on some other aspects of it, much of which we saw in full force here in Jamaica. The issue that we believe needs to be addressed as an urgent matter is the whole issue of the advertising and promotion before and during the campaign with excessive state resources. And that aspect of it and others were specifically commented on. So my advice is that whatever the specific limitations or the concerns that the OAS or other monitoring group didn't address, the EU's report, I believe, was much broad-based and some of it very relevant to Jamaica.
If I may add something to that before the leader answers the next question. I think we've been very responsible as a party. I think we've been very responsible. Nationwide carried a story that CAFE said that 21% of the persons at the polling station at 5 o'clock were not allowed to vote. We could easily have created a stir with that to suggest that those persons would have voted for us and it would have changed the outcome of the elections. We didn't. We waited for good information, right? For additional information. And we have seen where over the last 2 days, the ECG has refuted what was carried as to what CAFE had said. And then since that, CAFE today in the paper is clarifying that that did not actually take place. So I believe the comment that was made as well was not necessarily comparing the electoral system in the two countries, but about the report that came out of the election. So I don't know how you got to the point of saying he was comparing the two electoral systems. He was speaking to the report that came out and said that there are similarities that we have seen the same thing here. CAFE, CARICOM, and other OAS, other persons that came here would not have been out in the field to see that $100,000 was offered to an indoor agent not to work or offered to a cluster manager to give me the canvas of this party. They would not have seen that. They would not have seen what took place in the field. They would have been at the polling station, right? They would not have seen the night before that somebody was offered money to dip their finger in ink and therefore can't show up to the polling station. They would not have seen where we saw some persons, MPs, trying to separate people into lines as to who you are going to vote for, totally inappropriate, right? From a high-ranking member of the Jamaica Labour Party. So the issues that we're bringing forward here are things that we have contemplated on, we've heard about, and not just anecdotal things, but things that we can say, these, based on the reports that we've gotten, and there's additional work to do, but there is sufficient evidence to speak to it at this point to suggest that there was indeed an attempt to suppress the votes. Remember that we did run a campaign, where the last credible poll that came up before the election had us ahead by 3 percentage points, right? Not like the one from Nationwide that said we're 13 points behind. That was totally fraudulent, right? And if you look at the outcome of the elections, it was within 1%, as in the popular vote. So it was within that margin of error. And that is after all the suppression that took place by the Labour Party and the delayed voting by the ECJ that caused persons to leave the polling station and not being able to participate.
In relation to, well, first of all, I'm not aware of any historic precedent of which you speak. There have been instances where party leaders have offered their resignation. There have been instances where they haven't, to my knowledge. I serve at the pleasure of the party, and I'm happy to continue to serve in the capacity as leader for as long as the party wants me to. And thus far, all of the MPs who have been elected, all 28, other than one who's overseas traveling, have signed a letter confirming that they have confidence in me and want me to be the leader of the opposition.
Right.
And that's where it is right now.
If I may add again, if I may just add something to that. I want for us not to mislead the public with some of the statements. There are some things that are being said in the public space that are just not true. Andrew Holness was defeated by Portia Simpson Miller in 2011. It seems persons have forgotten that. He did not resign, nor did he offer any resignation. He stayed there. He did not even make public the appraisal committee report that was done, right? 10 of the 21 MPs signed a no confidence in him. He's the one that saved himself with his casting vote. I also hear persons saying that it's historic, unprecedented, this third term. When they say one complain about the PNP being in office for 18 years, the PNP has won 4 consecutive elections in Jamaica. So what is historic? It's historic for the JLP that they have won 3 elections. It's not historic for Jamaica. PJ Patterson won in 93, 97, and 2002. Why do we continue to mislead the public in this vulgar manner?